October 20th, 2021. Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen. Welcome to Heads Together. And hello to you, Jennifer Wilner.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you today.
Yeah, so we're back to virtual talking here. It was so fun seeing you live and in person last week.
Yeah, nothing like it. Nothing
in
like
New
it.
Jersey. Oh my gosh, the world is spinning quick. Um, you know, my idea for today's episode, the words that came to my mind were front of mind. Front of mind. What is at the front of my mind? And there are a few things that are burning for me. And welcome, Lynn. You're always the first one in. Happy to have you here. We're talking about things that are at the front of our mind. You posted something really interesting online this week about money and about hearing a salary. Correct me if I'm wrong, but being offered something ridiculous like $13 an hour for responsible assistant work. Jen, before I get into the things that are in front of mind for me, and before we hear from our audience, you had something that's on front of mind, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like you were talking about the salaries and earning a fair wage, and when I started my business, way back when, I get it. I mean, I was beginning VA. I was a virtual assistant. I'm not a virtual assistant anymore. I am, for you and for a few others, digital marketing specialist. That's my niche. So when someone comes in this this world, this field, and they are, if they don't have skills, it's one thing. If you're learning, or if you're an intern, it's one thing. Absolutely. Right. But when you have skills and someone comes back to you with the pricing to say like Fiverr, $5, $7, $11 an hour,
it's insulting.
It's insulting.
And it's disrespectful. Yeah. And it's clueless. It's Absolutely. Clueless about the job market. It's about what the market value is for the work that you and others do. And, for Lynn to get, a quote of $13 an hour, that's less than minimum wage. Jill Larmer in London was posting, some out of London, and Kalpana, hi, you're here from London, welcome. And some of the salaries that are being advertised, there's a real disconnect between Absolutely. What the salary is, what the compensation is, versus what the role is really worth in the real world, whether there's a hot job market or not, actually.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Terry Mullen. I know you had surgery, and happy to have you here with us, and hope all is healing very well. Yeah, Lynn, it is really insulting, $13 an hour. And so our job, my job, I see part of my job is for education of recruiters, education for leaders and executives. And I'm happy to tell you that I talk to my fair share of leaders and executives who understand what respectful salaries are. And if they're not, I certainly am very eager to tell them. So Terry, you're saying this is your first post-op event. I'm so happy that Heads Together was your first stop. And Lynn is saying that
wow,
you got a job offer for $18 an hour, slightly more than minimum wage. No. I mean, not, I don't know the job description, but it would seem like that's very entry level type stuff, fresh out of, not even fresh out of college. I would say, like a really talented high school grad might get that,
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the things, and money is certainly front of mind until we find pay equity. Another thing that's front of mind for me this week has to do with something that happened 2 days ago. Perhaps you heard the story out of Philadelphia, how during an evening 2 nights ago at night, there was a woman raped by a man on a Philadelphia train, and the bystanders did nothing except take video of the attack. Nobody pressed the red emergency button. Nobody called 911. Now, I have not read any news reports about how many people were on this train, but it wasn't until the train stopped and a train staffer walked on the train and saw this in motion happening. It's, for me, it's so disturbing. It's so disheartening, because it made me start to think about the workplace and how the only way forward is if we watch out for each other in the workplace. And, thank goodness that rapes are not happening in our offices most of the time. However, what is happening is workplace bullying and sexual harassment. And there are witnesses to those actions. And in the workplace, we have our version of the red emergency button, or 911. We have hotlines, we have recourse for supporting one another. And I just welcome your comments, your questions about this. It's certainly Googleable, but I feel like it's really important to talk about on Heads Together regarding the need for us to be alert to this kind of abusive, violent behavior. On the train, it was horrendous. And the idea that no one even called 911, I'm not suggesting that we, start physically jumping in and pulling people off other people. Although I think I found myself wondering, like, well, what would I have done in that situation? And I began thinking about, well, what if it was me being attacked? Or, like, yeah. Welcome, Debbie, to our program today. We're talking about things that are front of mind. And I was just talking about the attack that happened in Philadelphia 2 days ago, a woman on a train, and no bystanders did anything. Jen, do you have any comments about that? Or I'm putting you on the spot, I know, but.
I'd like to think that I would be the one that would. I want to say we have all these things in our bags. Ladies have these big pocketbooks, and you have keys and things that, like, I would have been probably screaming, because I know I get very nervous in those situations. But instead of just recording, hello, 911.
Right. There's something called the bystander effect. It's not, Debbie, you're saying that no one stepped in to help this woman, and you're so right. I don't know how old she was. I don't know what ethnicity. I don't know any of that. Yeah. We know that the rapist was 35 years old, a 35-year-old man, theoretically strong. Now, it's not that everybody on the train were mean, terrible people, right? But there is something called the bystander effect, which makes people think, well, somebody else will call. Somebody else will take action. And I think in the workplace, it's similar to that we think, well, the leader should step into workplace bullying or against it, or sexual harassment. And what I see and hear in the conversations I have with assistants all over the world is that that's not happening, and that we absolutely need to watch out for each other. There's something else that on October 15th, which was just 5 days ago, was the anniversary of the hashtags Me Too and Time's Up going viral. That they actually, Tarana Burke is the founder of the Me Too movement, and Tarana Burke coined that hashtag in 2007, but it was in 2017 that it went viral. And it went viral because of this, that in part, that I'm holding up a Time magazine from October of 2017. This is Harvey Weinstein. I'm only going to say his name once.
Just not look at that
He
face.
is in jail for sexually, he's been accused by over 100 women of sexual harassment. He was on Time magazine, and the headline is Producer, Predator, Pariah. And he's in jail right this minute. And it was that story that made the hashtag go viral. One of the reasons I'm bringing it up is that 5 days ago, and I'm pretty, careful about watching the news and, what's hot right now. And I didn't see any stories about that being the anniversary of the Me Too and Time's Up hashtags, that it kind of went by very quietly. And I'm wondering why. And I found myself connecting it with the Philadelphia story about, what happened on the train. Jen, could you put up Maddie's picture?
Absolutely.
I'm sharing with you a delightful picture of cuteness. This is my granddaughter at preschool, and I'm with her mask, so it's clear that it was very recent. Like even at 2.5, they're wearing masks, and she's watching. She's watching. Oh, thanks, Jen. You can take it down now.
Absolutely.
I share that with you because, I think our children, our grandchildren are watching what we're doing as adults. And I welcome many of your comments, questions about this. I know this is kind of heavy, but we have a job to do. I think we have a job to do. That's okay. To prepare for this workplace that is evolving and moving and changing so quickly in these next weeks and months as we go back into the office. I know that we have a responsibility to the younger people coming up behind us.
Absolutely.
And a responsibility to our kids and grandkids who are going to be walking into offices and trains and planes.
Right. All kinds of situations.
Yeah. I know anybody who has any young person who they care about, or any person of any age. We don't want them randomly, violently attacked anywhere, whether it's bullying, sexual harassment on a train, in a car, anywhere.
Right. Social media bullying.
Do you want to talk about that? Have you heard of that?
So bad.
So tell me what.
Just a lot of things that I read, and forgive me if I don't have all the facts, but I do understand that Instagram is getting some slack.
Oh, yeah.
They've taken down of the teen version of Facebook, I believe. So it's really bad. And the latest that I read, it is the worst, not surprisingly, for teen girls.
Yes, I heard that as well.
It doesn't end when this thing, like when you don't look at it, it like literally follows them into their bedroom after school. Wow. And like they say, because they're on it, they live for it, to be connected. And anyway, so it's really bad. And
photographs are easily altered, so their young girls are seeing altered versions of other people and comparing. It's impossible not to compare.
Oh yeah.
But all that to say is that it's important that we know this is happening in the world, so that if and when we get confronted with it in our workplace, in our town, in our community, that we're ready, that we think to ourselves, well, what if it were me? What if it was somebody I know? What would I do? You
Mhm.
know? Jen, Terry has something to say.
Yeah. Terry said, I think one of the things that worries me the most returning to the office in general is the uptick in crimes in the New York City subway. And when something like that happens, it just reinforces the issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
want to believe that people would help if
right.
we were attacked, and this story out of Philly is indicating that something's changed, and that scares the heck out
Yeah.
of me. Kerem has something to say.
Yep. Scares me a lot. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Yep.
Right.
Karen, I had
I
a 16-year-old girl taking the subway into New York City 3 years ago. Scared to
Yeah.
death. I was scared to death. She wasn't.
Honestly, one of the best advice I heard, and I've shared this on Heads Together before, and Karam, this would certainly apply for your kids, is for them to take a simple self-defense class. Not something that has to go on for weeks and weeks and hours and hours. I mean,
Right.
I took one that lasted 2 hours, and I still use information that I learned at in that class, things like to look inside your back seat before you get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Just common sense things, to look under your car. Obviously your children will be with adults, but a simple self-defense class, I think, is really great advice for kids. I'm certainly going to. I know that my son is already thinking about that for my granddaughter. Yeah. So uh, these are scary times and scary situations when we think about, is that a one-off? I hope.
Mm,
Or is that
right.
going to be something we're going to hear about again?
Right.
And honestly, I think for each of us as individuals, our opportunity is just simply to think to ourselves, what would I do? What
Just
would
be
I do
there.
if it were me? If it was someone I know? Yeah, just being aware. We have to be aware. And that's one of the things I feel is my responsibility on Heads Together, is to discuss things that aren't necessarily the most fun things to talk about, but how do we be ready if this is going to happen? What do we do? That's always our question at Be the Ultimate Assistant, is what do we do about it? It's one thing to acknowledge a challenge or an issue, and it's a whole other thing to move into, okay, so what's our move? Who do we talk about this with? How do we prepare for
Mm,
the next time, if there's actually going to be a next time? And I am absolutely certain and committed and saying out loud, if that ever happens in front of me, like what happened on that train, there's no question about it. I'm taking some kind of action. Like we have to watch out for each other. Why else are we all here? Jen, but speaking of BTUA, can you put up our
sure.
new announcement for 2022? Ta-da! We have created our schedule for 2022. We are getting into our details. Um, you'll see we are in 4 cities. Uh, I'm still not sure where we're going to be in the West Coast in July. If any of you listening we have our venue set for Chicago. And I'm close on the others, but if any of you are inspired and want to host us, have a great idea, I'd certainly be all ears. Bonnie at BonnieLow-Kramen.com. Registration will be opening soon. We finalized dates and cities. You'll notice that BTUA, Be the Ultimate Assistant, is now a 3-day experience. 2 days with me with soft skills, communication, organization, the DISC assessment, um, just really pretty jam packed with the soft skills of this work we do as assistants. And day 3 is a full day of technology with Vicki Sokol Evans, who is just brilliant at teaching all of that. So we are excited. I've shared with you on this show that I have a new book coming out in 2022, which is essentially why I am keeping the first chunk of the year free for that. And I will be doing a book tour through the entire year. So when we're in New York, there will be a book component, etc. So it's 2022 is going to be a super exciting year. And yes, Latricia, welcome to the show.
Yay.
And yes, I hope we will see you in New York City. Nora's joining us. Yes, Terry. Oh, we have to be in New York. We're in New York every year except the year of the pandemic. We were in New York March of 2020,
Yeah.
but not 2021. Oh my gosh! But we are always going to remember these last couple of years, aren't we?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
so crazy. And Terry Mullen, I hope we will see you in New York as well. You know what's funny is that I think that when I finally get in a room with so many of you who I speak with on Heads Together, that I'm going to be absolutely certain that we have been in a room physically together already, and that because it feels so real.
Right. We just had that conversation.
Yeah, Terry, we were in town. We were in New York City on March 6th and 7th of 2020. I mean, it felt like minutes before. And in fact, at that workshop in New York City, Jen, you remember we had hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah. Lots
You
of
know,
tissues and hand sanitizer. There was hand sanitizer abundant. They went out of their way to make sure we had as
there
much as
was
we
just a
needed.
lot of anxiety around what was coming, what it seemed like was coming, but nobody was sure.
We didn't know
And,
what to expect.
there was all kinds of thinking about, how long is this going to last? And no one dared to think, it was going to be months and months. What does Marion have to say?
Marion asks, if I register for BTUA and you are not coming to the West Coast, would it also be able to change location to one of the others?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. But I'm very committed to doing a West Coast event, doing a West Coast Be the Ultimate Assistant. The question, it usually is between Los Angeles, San Francisco, or Seattle. I'm certainly open to, we're still not playing. We're still discussing what makes the most sense, where we should be. So if any of you, including you, Marion, have thoughts on that, I welcome them. I'm in active conversations. We're in a great venue in downtown Chicago. So if any of you are excited about coming to Chicago, and Chicago in September should still be decent weather. I am mindful of that. It used to be, my gosh, sometimes we chose Boston in January. Like, what was I thinking? Marion's saying we should have BTUA in wine country. Okay, Napa. So let's put our heads together on that one. I know there's some wonderful resorts there. Yeah, I've got some great leads and having meetings over these next few weeks. So just wanted to announce the dates. Jen, if you can put up the scroll, please.
Yeah.
We have one last seat available still for Colorado Springs on November 10, 11, and 12. If you are interested. And somebody said, hey, I'm in Boston. Yeah, you got to admit it's cold in Boston in January. I love Boston, but when we go back to Boston, we're going to choose a little bit more reasonable temperature. For those of us who are not loving freezing on
summertime
on the river. If any of you are interested in a particular subject or guest on Heads Together, we're certainly open for that. Yeah. Let me just end by certainly if anyone has anything else they want to share about what is front of mind for you, what is worrying you, what's exciting to you. Thank you. You're acknowledging that it's very, very cold in Boston. I know. I mean, I'm a Jersey girl, so I am in Florida now, and I'm getting very spoiled being warmer all the time. I feel like I want to end today's program just with to reiterate the point about looking out for each other in our workplace, in our world. That story out of Philly really shook me up from 2 days ago, where the bystanders simply took video and did nothing to help a woman being raped. I mean, there is just no justification for not hitting the emergency button or calling 911. I mean, it would seem most people have a cell phone. And I don't know why that happened. I pray it is a one off. But if it isn't, I just want to ask everyone listening to simply think to themselves, what if it were me? What if it were me watching? And God forbid, what if it was me getting attacked? What can we do? What can we do better? Who can we talk to about this? What can we learn from it? That's what I'm thinking about today. And let us not forget those people who are feeling the effects of Me Too and Time's Up close and personal, because bullying and sexual harassment are still here. And we need to watch out for those behaviors still happening in the workplace, and to speak up, like most other things, that when there's a problem, we need to speak up about it. I have not. A LinkedIn user is asking about Linda McFarland, and Linda McFarland is quoted in my new book. And you were asking if she has been a guest on this show. I don't know if Linda has listened in. I should reach out to her, but I do have her included in my new book. I'm a big fan of Linda's. We've known each other for a long time. Thanks for the idea. All right. Well, Jen, have I forgotten anything? Are we
we do have, so for that one last seat that we have for Colorado Springs, we do have a discount code, which I will happily share. We have BTUA bonus 21.
And it is a savings of $300, right?
BTUA bonus I have is a $200
Sorry. Yep.
discount. And
so happy to have an assistant helping me. Oh my gosh. All right. Yes. We hope.
Want to come on demand. We have a discount for BTUA on demand also. So,
and what is that one?
So that one is BTUA bonus OD for $300 off our BTUA on demand. So
of course, we welcome, Jen or I welcome your questions, your comments. We will be back next Wednesday with another Heads Together show, and hopefully we hear some follow-up to some of these stories that are in the news, and hopefully they have happier endings than what we're hearing right now. And hello to our LinkedIn user who's saying hello to me. It's so great that we have this ability to be live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We hope you will share the replays with others who you believe would benefit from this information. So I appreciate all of you coming to join me and Jen here on Heads Together, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye now.
And